Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Plays Games, the podcast where we celebrate women in the video games industry. I'm your host, Lauren, and I've been working as a journalist and content creator in the games industry for the last 10 years. On my show, I have a chat with women of many different roles within the games industry, whether it's journalism, games development, or even streaming. My goal is to give visibility to the many women in games, with the hopes to inspire a new generation of women in gaming. For today's announcements, the deadline for entering nominations in our special International Women's Day SPG 100 list is fast approaching. If there's an inspiring woman in the industry that you'd like to nominate, please be sure to fill out the nomination form, which you can find on our Twitter page at She Plays Podcast. The deadline is the 2nd of February, so get them in as soon as you can. If you haven't already, please be sure to join our Discord community. It's full of industry people who are all incredibly lovely and supportive. We host coffee chats every other Sunday, and there's even a D&D community. We'd love to have you join. You can get the invite link on our website, sheplaysgames.co. Also, it's actually Community Manager Appreciation Day. Community managers in the games industry do so much for the games and the different groups within the industry and deserve all the love and credit we can muster. If you haven't already, please be sure to send some love over to that special community manager in your life. And this actually fits in quite nicely with today's guest, Lauren Moses. Lauren hasn't been in the video games industry for very long, but after switching over from corporate communications, she has made a considerable impact for numerous indie developers. In a short period of time, Lauren has overseen 4 successful funding drives, and she's now serving as a community manager for Code Coven, an initiative to help marginalized developers, and she's also the chief communications officer for Stardust, a small indie dev studio who is looking to push boundaries. Throughout this episode, we discuss the merits of crowdfunding, why indie development is so important, and why it might be good to consider changing careers if you're unhappy. I really hope you enjoy listening to Lauren's story. This is episode 36 of She Plays Games. Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, Lauren. It's really good to be here. It's been too long.
It seriously has. I still remember when you reached out to me for the Emily Bailey interview, which was, it seems like ages ago, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year. Where has the last year gone?
I have no clue. It just evaporated. It just went. But yeah, it was so cool when I first sort of heard about you and read up about you because, at the time you were raising funds for Project Grove, which was successful in the end. And that was just like, oh my gosh, Lauren Moses is she's like a superhero. She has a superpower for fundraising. How did you first get into doing this kind of work for indie devs?
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a heck of a compliment there.
Oh, but it's true. It's
you.
So true. I sincerely mean it.
Oh, right. So how did I get into crowdfunding and specifically for indie devs? Well, let's see. I come from a very corporate marketing background. I have no formal education in marketing, really. I have a BA in fine arts and an MA in creative enterprise, which is a combination of your creative subject plus business plus law. We did a little bit of marketing, but no real formal training. And at the time I was just like, hey, I need a job. So corporate, yay. And I did about 3 years of that, and that was across dentistry and education and property marketing, and just these £1 billion pound companies that obviously it's all about the profits, and they just did not really care about their community members apart from the fact that they were a number that was going to give them this much money. And
so frustrating.
Yeah, it was just soul destroying. And I think about after the second year into it, I had considered going freelance, but was like, I just don't have the experience yet. I need more experience. So like I stuck it out for another year. And yeah, I got to about the end of the third year and I was like, okay, well, what do I actually want to do? Because I can't do this for much longer. And I thought about my passions and, I'd been a gamer for as long as I can remember. Like I remember sleepovers when I was like 5 with the N64 and Pokemon Snap
my
and
gosh.
Stadium. And like, that's probably my earliest memory of gaming. And naturally that like turned into the Game Boy Color.
It's the gateway. It's the gateway.
Yeah, it is. And so I thought, okay, well, I've always been a gamer. My mother has always been like, Lauren, get off the Xbox. Lauren, have you won that game yet? Stop it. I remember back in the day with RuneScape when we had like dial up and having to plug in the Ethernet cable to the phone and my mum wanting to use the phone and being like, Lauren, get off that game. I need to call someone. What if someone wants to call me?
But oh my gosh, do you like that? That's just like things that kids just won't understand now, will they?
Nope. Yeah, actually. So RuneScape in particular was probably my first community management experience, just with like updates when you would log in. And I never really knew that community management was a career up until like I started looking to leave the corporate world. And that's when I found Antler and Emily. But yeah, it was really that kind of that soul destroying 3 years of realizing that these big companies just, they don't care. And I would rather use my skills to help someone who does actually care and, wants to realize something but needs the help doing so.
It's extremely brave of you, really, because like they tie you in, don't they? The big corporations, because of the safety that you feel like it's the safe option, but like it's not safe for your mental health. Like it's just not safe in the terms of like the struggle that it is to keep a job and keep motivated in a job like that, is it?
Yep, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, since then you've gone on to help raise funds for a few games now, and now you're working closely with Code Coven, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, how did you first get involved with Tara and Code Coven?
Oh, Tara. Love her.
She's so lovely.
Yes. So I'm trying to remember if I had seen them before Elevate 2020. And I think I had probably seen them on Twitter. I was definitely aware of them to some extent. But really, I remember Elevate 2020 being announced, which was a collaboration between Wings and Code Coven to help various underrepresented developers who have been affected by the event cancellations of COVID. Marketing spiel out the way, to create a successful prototype, to do some biz dev, some networking. It was a really great experience. Anyway, yeah, I think it was the announcement of applications opening for Elevate and applying with Ava, a mobile game by Stardust, which is another company I work for, and just having a chat with them over Twitter. Just being like, we want to submit this game, but we think it's a bit too late in the development because, they want to be making a prototype. And yeah, it was that initial discussion.
Yeah.
And we really clicked. Like the two companies want to do a lot of similar things. Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, it is really, really impressive what everyone at Code Coven is sort of doing for marginalized people, because like GDC was such a massive thing to have like sort of canceled essentially because of COVID, because like I mean expos in general, like that's the sort of easiest way for you to get a sort of a feel of the games and the people who are making the games. And like it just must have been so scary for everyone who's just like, this is my year to come out with a game, and then, oh God, never mind, you know?
Yeah, I think I've heard of a lot of games that delayed their launch to this year because of everything that happened last year. But as someone who, like, I joined the game industry late in 2019. And so I went to DreamHack Winter in 2019 in November. That was amazing. That was a great experience. And I was so excited for 2020 to just like go out and go to all the industry events. But obviously that hasn't been the experience. And I've made a lot of friends over the past year and a lot of contacts. And, you know, everyone in the industry talks about, remember when we used to go to like the bar at the event together? Yeah. Or we just like hang out at each other's booths. And I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for that experience. I'm waiting to come and meet you.
Yeah. Eventually I can dream.
Yep. I honestly cannot wait to experience that.
Yeah, I know. But it's okay. I think in a way it's kind of okay that everybody's in the same boat. Like, I feel like if it was something like sort of on my end and my end only, and everybody else was kind of like doing all these amazing like meetups and gatherings and stuff, I'd be like, oh my God, I want to be where the people are. But like, I feel like because we're all in this together, we're all trying to figure it out together. It makes it feel a bit, I'm still obviously like, I want to go, but like I feel a bit of solidarity in that we're all trying to make it work.
Yeah, there were definitely some wonderful digital events last year.
Yeah.
I was part of the Indie Arena booth. Yes, Indie Arena booth. I'm really hoping that's the one. It was such a while ago. Yeah. And they did a amazing kind of 2D event for indies, and you could like customize your character and your booth, and it was really wonderful. I think that was the best one that I had been to. And I went to a few.
Oh, but yeah, no, that's so cool. And like, so with that in mind, like what sort of drew you into indie devs specifically?
If I'm being really honest, I don't have any interest in AAA studios. Like I mentioned before, I really feel like I can actually help indie developers because, you know, they're kind of all on their own and they have some really great ideas. But I also think that there's probably a subconscious link between my previous corporate experience and kind of not wanting to return to that. And I also think that since joining the games industry, I've learned that I'll find a lot more diverse and underrepresented developers within indie studios because like anyone can be an indie developer, which is wonderful.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I've always been an advocate for inclusion. And so, you know, what better way to help our industry become more inclusive than helping get underrepresented developers funded?
Yeah. And I mean, the games that they're putting forward are so inventive and creative. Like, and it has to be because these people are actually allowed to be at the table in indie studios, you know?
Yeah, it's so important to add more voices to the conversation. I have this maybe somewhat controversial, but also weird feeling that like I come from a very privileged background. I'm very lucky in that respect, but I kind of wish I was more privileged so I could help more. Like I wish I just had money to just fund as many developers as possible. Like that's the goal I'd like to get to eventually. Yeah, I just wish I could do more.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you wish that secretly you had some like weird inheritance that you haven't claimed yet, and then you can just help people. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's I wish.
I
know. But one day I will get there.
But I think that is the thing. Like there is such a future in indie development, and like I mean, we're seeing it so much with like so many games that are coming out that like have such mass appeal, but they're not done by just some like AAA studio. Like, I mean, granted, I'm not trying to come down hard on the AAAs, but like at the same time, there is just something that is so special about indie games. And I mean, I always come back to it. I sound like a broken record, but like, how much did you love the like PlayStation 5 initial like sort of reveal event where the showcase where they had like so many different types of games featured, like what was it, like Little Nightmare and Bug Snacks and stuff like that. Like it just felt so much more vibrant and interesting, didn't it?
Yes, I loved that so much. I am such a fan of kind of platforms promoting indie developers in the way they do, like Nintendo's Indie World. I love that so much. I find like so many games I want to play through that. And yeah, as you said, like not talking indie studio, not talking AAA studios down. I think it's because of their reach. I think it's really important for, you know, them to be inclusive within their hiring and within their structure. So, you know, I totally see the value in having inclusive AAA studios, but I feel like I can help indies more.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so I actually had a question from Discord, from Taya on our Discord server, who asks, what should indie game studios consider and prepare before fundraising and launching a crowdfunding campaign?
Oh, so many things.
Everything.
Yeah, literally everything. I could probably talk all day about that. But I guess if we go with a few top points, let's say, okay, let's start with platform. Typically, if you're doing a mobile title, don't go to crowdfunding. Find an investor, because mobile just isn't built for Kickstarter. Like the amount they cost to buy as a player, if they're not free to play, usually isn't enough to make a good incentive in some way. I wish I had more info on why not mobile.
I feel like it's this weird, like, it's almost like the mobile market shot themselves in the foot when they made free to play, you know, like, I think mobile, there's so much potential there for successful games. And like, we've seen it, like there's so many games that are free to play, but they generate like billions. But it's like, because of that, they've made it so that everybody has to be free to play. And it's just, it's just a weird thing, isn't it?
The mobile games market is definitely very different to the rest of the industry. And, you know, maybe it's a good thing that they're finding their own. It just means that you have to go about getting them funded in different ways. So yeah, I would say if you're doing a mobile game, consider investors or a mobile publisher rather than crowdfunding. But if you're doing PC, console, great, go for it.
Yeah.
What else? The game states, it needs to be somewhat polished. I typically say like a polished pre-alpha states. How do I say this? So back in like the early 2010s, 2013s, was when Kickstarter really started to take off for games. And because of the popularity kind of increasing over the years, the standards of the, like your Kickstarter has just grown and grown and grown. And so now that we're in 2021, everything just needs to be so polished, because it needs to stand out against the other games that are listed on Kickstarter or on Indiegogo or Fig, you know, any crowdfunding platform. So yeah, just you need to polish what you're putting up there, because you need to convince people that your game is the right one to back over the other games. Or, you know, maybe there are some people who can back multiple games, but, you know, really need to stand out. And that standard has just increased so much over the years, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Just looking through the games, I find it really interesting.
Yeah. Like, I mean, some of the games, they look like they've been done by like a super duper I don't know, high tech studio, like, you know, like a studio that has like a lot of budget and stuff in order to throw at development. Like I'm so impressed with some of the stuff that's come out.
There are what I really like to see is people who have done successful Kickstarters then returning to Kickstarter and just continuing that relationship with their community. Like Straythorn Studios from Switzerland, they've just done an incredible Kickstarter for Wandering Village, or The Wandering Village. And I think it was their third Kickstarter, but it's like they've just returned to the platform and kept developing their community. And I just love that so much.
Yeah. I think that is the thing as well. Like there's something special about having a community back a game and like them having such a nice connection to the developers.
Yes. I think so much about crowdfunding is about emotion and that genuine connection. So if we talk some statistics, so driving audience to your Kickstarter is such an important thing, because from general statistics, you'll drive about 90% of the traffic and Kickstarter will drive about 10%. So, you know, when it comes to planning a Kickstarter and planning the amount, you really need to think about, is your audience large enough, because you're driving that 90%. Okay, we're going to go into stats. So you need about, I love this, you need about 25% raised in the first 48 hours. And if you say you have an average pledge size of £20, how many pledges do you need to hit that 25% in the 48 hours? And then you have, prior to launching, you have the pre-launch signups. And there's about a 10% conversion rate from pre-launch signups to pledges. So do you have enough pre-launch signups to make that 10% conversion rate to get the 25% funding raised?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. I'm sorry if that bores anyone. I love this so much.
I always find it really fascinating because like these are the types of things that like you can set as goals. Like this can help you in your mind sift out like what you need to hit essentially. And I think that's important that people have like a sort of clear thing to think, okay, if my game hasn't reached 10% of the like pre-sales and stuff, maybe it might not hit the 25%. And like, I think that's like that is a really solid way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think, okay, so this is probably one area where my corporate background really helps. Because previously I was saying, oh no, numbers, blah. But actually, I do see the value.
Yeah.
But I think the difference there would be, you know, actually connecting with your audience and caring about them. And so, yeah, I'm not going to say just drive people to it. Do try and connect with your audience. Do try and get people who are genuinely interested, because they're the ones who will want to support you. What else? We were speaking about the amount raised. So the Kickstarter website actually has a page of statistics of kind of the funding goal brackets and then the number of projects that were successful and unsuccessful across the years. So I think it's really interesting just to take a look at that and see where your funding goal fits in. My personal preference for indies is to set a funding goal to the amount you need to make a more polished vertical slice. Because usually that's not too much. And then you can continue your funding discussions with publishers or investors, and it evidences that like your concept is valid and there is a place in the market for it. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And okay, you don't need a demo, but I do recommend having one of some kind, because you want to build that emotional connection, and what better way than to give them something to play. And that, you know, that opens like a feedback loop conversation and they can get to know you. And I think that's really useful. Plus influencer marketing, because like if you want to do any kind of streaming, you're going to need a demo. And like kind of in this day and age, micro streamers and nano streamers are so incredibly useful. So like influencers with like quite small but loyal audiences. I think, oh no, okay, I'll try not to diverge too much, but like when you go looking for influencers, look for ones that are actually going to enjoy your game. Don't just contact everyone.
Yeah. Like you play only Dotas. You're really going to love this JRPG. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think platformers is such a really good indie starting point. Because I think you learn to make platformers quite early on. If I'm correct, I might not be correct, but that's the case in my experience. So I see a lot of platformers on Kickstarter, and so you're going to want to find an influencer who enjoys platformers. But yeah, all that being said, you don't need a demo, but I definitely recommend it, because otherwise I feel like you're just cutting out like a whole level of engagement and marketing and connecting you could be doing.
I think it's also like I mean, I don't know how much QA goes into like how much QA can indie devs really be able to do like on their own, if you know, like considering sort of like financial sense, like they can't just hire, like, a lot of them can't just hire like a team of like 20 QA people. Like I imagine like demos helps with that regard.
Yeah, it definitely is in my experience. However, I will always be like, you need to QA this before you put this live. Like just somehow it needs to go through a QA process.
Yeah, just some kind of.
But honestly, I absolutely love having a build out there and talking to players about it and being like, you know, what would you change about it? What would you want to see in it? I love that so much, because we get so many opinions and so many ideas. And even if all the ideas can't be implemented, it's really great to just have that connection.
Yeah.
I really love that. I think those are all my top tips. So if let's say platform, PC or console, game state, polished pre-alpha, demo, I recommend having one. Amount raised, think polished vertical slice, but then does it match your audience size? And then signups, do you have enough to reach that 25%?
Yeah. No, I think that those are all very, 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 very helpful tips for like getting it done and gauging whether or not it's actually going to be a success. Because that is the thing, isn't it? It's like, that's probably the hardest thing about being an indie dev, is just like you have a great idea for a game, but it's like hanging on to whether or not it's successful. And I almost kind of feel like Kickstarter is a great way to like gauge whether or not you should continue even. Like, I mean, obviously like you want to have it quite almost finished before you do a Kickstarter, but like there is that sense of like, well, if I realistically can't do this Kickstarter, like I have to maybe like put it on the back burner.
Yeah, definitely. I got two things to say about that. I'm just trying to order them in my head.
Yeah.
So first, I think in terms of the, like we were saying QA before, and the player feedback you can get, like it is totally okay to launch a Kickstarter, then like through feedback realize it's not ready, cancel the Kickstarter, and then make all these changes and try again. Like that's not the ideal scenario, but I love a great comeback story.
Yeah.
And like it makes a great story for any future publishers. It shows that like you listened, you were able to like identify what you needed to implement, and then you did it. And then you were successful. And yeah, comeback stories are great.
Especially when you're like so close. Like you see those ones where it's just like they have like 75%, and you're just like, oh, if they just had that little bit more, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm very okay. Like I know I just spoke in favor of canceling and starting again, but I am really torn because the way Kickstarter algorithm works, you get a lot of traffic in your first 48 hours, and you get a lot of traffic again in your last 48 hours, and then it's kind of like this slump in the middle. So you kind of have to make a decision on if you want to stick it out for that, to reach that last 48 hours where they'll start kind of promoting you again. And it can be such a hard call to make. Like, I don't think there's a right answer. Or, someone with more experience might say, okay, this is how you find this out. But
yeah,
for me, there's no right answer.
It is like a feel. It is like a feel. You have to personally feel it. But is it like I don't have much experience with Kickstarter, but like is it something where you can set how much time? Can you set how much time, or is it like a generic time?
Right. So yeah, you can. I can't remember the total length you can set, but you can set the amount of days, and you can set the ending time. And I believe Kickstarter recommends about 30 days. For like an unknown game, I'll probably set between 32 and 35 days. So I've just found that helps.
Yeah.
I wish I had a reason why. I found it helps.
Yeah.
That little bit of extra time.
That golden 2 days.
Yep.
And then like in terms of like marketing the game and stuff, what would you say is like the most important skill that someone should build up in order to really be able to market their game effectively?
Oh, genuine connection and empathy. But I realize that's two skills, but they go hand in hand for me. Like I feel like you need empathy to be able to make genuine connections and genuine communication.
I remember reading once, I forget where I found it, but it was just like, somebody once said that like, if you're not interested in other people, you've already failed. Like having a genuine interest in learning about other people and what other people are, like that is so important.
Yeah, exactly. I think okay, I don't want to make this a numbers game. This is my background coming out.
It's okay. I think numbers are great. We shouldn't be afraid of numbers.
Numbers are okay as long as you make the genuine connection. That's
what
I'm going to say. Like if you're really trying to make an audience that cares and wants to back you, like there's that emotional connection between them and your game. There also needs to be this emotional connection between them and you. Like they have to care about you, and with all due respect, why should they care about you if you don't care about them? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you do see that a lot, like even in sort of content creation as well. Like it's like you have to almost give a bit of vulnerability in order for people to actually trust you.
Yeah, definitely. I am a huge advocate of mental health. I'm a Safe and Our World ambassador as of this year, which I'm really happy about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they do such great work. Personally, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I'm taking sertraline for that and combining that with CBT for anyone who cares about mental health. And I love it when streamers and influencers are really open and honest with their audience about their mental health. I know a couple who will just be like, even mid-stream, they'll just be like, I'm done. I can't. I'm sorry. It's too much right now.
Yeah.
And because they've been so open and genuine kind of across the months they've been with their audience or the years they've been with their audiences, like their community and their audience understands. And I think that's wonderful. And I would like to see more of that in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, like for us, Daryl and I stream on like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We stream on our Lazador channel, and like our audience all know that we are just exhausted. Like we genuinely are exhausted. So we're like yawning, and like sometimes we forget what we're saying, but like our audience is so understanding because they know that we've said how much like having children who don't like sleep is just and lockdown and stuff. It's so much. But yeah, I think because we've always been open about it, like, yeah, there's that understanding and that connection there.
Yes. And I'm just thinking about like having children as a whole other layer to everything that's going on. And
it's fun.
I know we've both been in a few conversations about this, and I have like so much respect for parents at the moment. I mean, I always do, but especially nowadays. Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
wow.
it's tough. It's tough. And then, I mean, so in terms of freelancing and that type of thing, like you've given yourself like a lot of almost freedom now to sort of pick and choose which games you want to support. And so what kind of criteria like goes into your selection process?
Yeah. So when I started up, so kind of like I finished my time with Antler Studios and then I was like, okay, I need to find more work. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to trust my gut. Because usually previously in my career, when I don't trust my gut, things go wrong.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? My gut is just going to lead the way. And then I'm going to consider like, would I want to play this game? Because how am I going to sell it if I don't want to play it?
Yep.
And then do I like the developer or the developers that I'm helping? Because like we're just linking back to do I care about the game? Do I care about the people? Is that going to be genuine?
Yeah.
Because Kickstarter and crowdfunding and community management is just such an emotional investment. And there's a whole discussion within the community manager community about self-care and establishing boundaries, because you like all this genuine connection, you really care and you get so emotionally invested and you just need to save some for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's how I started off, deciding who I would work with or work for. Now going forward, now that I've got some experience in the industry, I've decided I'm going to help underrepresented developers and meaningful games. So like when I say meaningful games, I mean games that go beyond entertainment, games that have like a heartfelt message that make you think about a specific topic. Like I'm doing a side project on my own about my mental health journey, and hopefully that will become a meaningful experience for other people. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's great because like for me especially, like I always love, I mean, I've always been a story-based gamer. Like I just love great stories. And like if the kind of games that are coming out now with indie devs especially, like the fact that they're coming straight from their soul, it's just there's such a difference in how I feel about those games. And like you almost kind of have just, I don't know, it's like they're your family, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like last year, we all discovered Spiritfarer, which is a really meaningful game about death and letting go. And wow, that hit me hard. But I also discovered Guilt Free, which is an indie game about having an eating disorder. And I haven't seen a game cover that before. And wow, that was emotional.
No, I can't imagine.
And I've seen other games that cover other things like Alzheimer's and other forms of memory loss. And I saw one on Twitter the other day it was two people and one of them has a stroke. And it's about the recovery journey. And I am ready to play that, but I am ready to cry.
I think that's like the thing, like, obviously, like with homeschooling and stuff, I find that like it's way more effective to teach my daughter how to do things through games. I mean, I do find it with reading as well, but particularly with games, I feel like she's so much more invested in it. And it has to be the same with adults. Like it has to be the same no matter what your age, that when you're playing something, like I feel like you let your guard down more. And I feel like when you have control over what happens in a game, regardless if it's like a good choice or a bad choice that you have to make in the game, like that's so much more intense and meaningful than anything else, you know?
Yeah, I wish I had access to games like that when I was kind of younger in gaming because, like I played Pokemon, I played like dance mat things. I was really addicted to a game called Splashdown on the PS2, and that was like racing on a jet ski. And they were all great games.
Fun.
I just wish I had kind of more meaningful games to, I guess, like develop my critical thinking at that age and just consider other topics. Because I feel like there were a lot of topics I didn't get to start thinking about until I was much older. And I kind of wish I had that chance to develop my thoughts about those at a younger age.
Yeah. And like if those games could also be like, I think some developers are getting it that like it's better to, in some cases, like games should still be made for kids, and like it's important that kids get to explore these games, these kind of topics and stuff. Like I'm talking like, even at like 11, like there's so many like teenage or mature games that cover these topics, but like for younger kids are still playing games and they deserve the experiences to like, isn't it better to like prepare them for what's to come when they're older? Or is it better to just hide them away from it? Like it's really like, it's really intense.
Definitely. I'm going to segue quickly into a slight plug. Because speaking of younger audiences, over at Stardust, we decided to make a meaningful roguelite, and we're doing that by removing the violence from the game.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're doing that, and like, I'm just so happy we're changing this genre because like I love the roguelite genre, but because of the violence that's within it, a lot of like the age rating just won't reach the younger players. And so I'm so excited to get like a younger audience into this genre that I love.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that. Sorry. Okay. Right.
No, that's fine. Like, I think it is like we play Hollow Knight with Allie, but that's because we sort of gauged to ourselves that was an okay one to play with her because the violence was, we can just attribute the violence to just like bugs. Like it didn't feel as bad, but then at the same time, would I have found it better without it? Probably, like it's one of those things where I'm just like, could this have been less and like had more or offer it to more kids than just including the violence just because we want to include violence?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
And actually as well, Baz from Discord would like to know if you have any tips for owning your communication style and how you adapt it to your overarching strategy.
Oh, that's such a Baz question. I know exactly who that is. That is such a Baz question.
Thank you, Baz.
My top tip would probably be being comfortable in yourself and knowing yourself. Because kind of through my own journey and my own mental health journey, my communication style has changed because I'm more confident in myself and more comfortable in myself. And so I feel like I'm way more genuine now than I was a year, 2 years ago. So I think that will definitely help hone your communication style just by knowing yourself.
Yeah.
But in that sense, it's also important to know your audience. So you know what language to use, like which words to choose, so how to not be condescending, which I think is really important. So yeah, my top advice is putting yourself first. As to how it links to an overarching strategy, Baz.
Intense.
Baz. I'm trying to think about overarching strategies and communication. I mean, if I take Code Coven for an example, our pillars are about caring and education for underrepresented developers and opportunities. And so taking that as our overarching strategy, like you've got to care about people. You've got to care about the people you're giving these opportunities to. Or that you're offering the opportunities to, that you're trying to help thrive. yeah, I feel like caring is so much of what Code Coven does and what our communication style is. I hope that helps. That's probably going to be the best answer I can give.
I think that it's great. I remember during your chat with Into Games, your Q&A with Into Games, you said actually, and I thought it was like a great idea, you have a feel-good folder of like positive feedback and statistics. I just wanted to know, like, is this something that you like you started immediately, like when you first started freelancing, or have you just like sort of found it over time?
Okay, so I have to try and not laugh because I'm actually really bad at this.
Oh,
like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
So it definitely. So where this comes from, and we're going to jump all the way back to my corporate life.
Yeah.
Numbers, as I said before, was so important, and statistics was so important. Like, the reports better look good, or something's going to happen.
Heads are gonna roll.
Yep. So when I was younger, I placed a lot of emphasis and energy into finding good statistics and presenting them in a good way. And that, when I was successful in that just became like an endorphin feedback. And so it's kind of spiraled out of control a little bit, but that's why I get such a happy rush from good statistics. But also positive feedback can be qualitative, can be words, can be screenshots of something that isn't numbers. It can be someone saying something really nice. And so I really try to make an effort to kind of screenshot whenever someone says something nice about one of the games I've helped. And I don't catch all of them. In fact, I don't screenshot a lot of them, and I should. But I think the same as a lot of other people in the industry, I really suffer from imposter syndrome. So it's really useful to have that folder just to, when I'm feeling really down about myself and feeling like, oh, I can't do this. I'm an imposter.
Yeah, I know.
Just go and look through that folder and be like, oh no, I am good at my job. I am valid. I can do this.
Yeah. But I guess that is the thing. Like there's so often, especially in the realm of Twitter, where you can just focus and hone in on the negative responses and like just genuine like negativity, but there are so many positives and so many people who are sharing positivity. I think that's an incredible idea, and I think I might even start doing it as well, because I think even just for when you're promoting yourself as well, it's important to have those kind of things at the ready, so that when you do want to do like a project and stuff, it's like, I have my portfolio right here. It's all good. I just have to make it look all coherent and pretty, and then you have it, like,
Yeah, exactly. I have not looked at my portfolio in a long time.
But you have the bits. You have like the bits to make it, and that's what's important. It's the receipts. It's like when you do your taxes and you have all your receipts piled high in a corner, and then you're just like, I just need to go through them and count them up, and then I know how much I've spent. And then you can cry, and then Yeah,
it's exactly like that.
But it's good to have that, and yeah, I think that's really cool. And then Taya, again from our Discord, wanted to know what challenges you're looking forward to working through in your next meaningful game venture.
Oh, right. Okay. So throw back to an earlier question where I mentioned that I'm starting my own game.
Yeah.
I finally decided to kind of dive into the indie dev life and make my own games. So that's really my next big personal challenge. I'm really enjoying it so far. Like, I've made like a third person camera and movement and done some basic modeling, and it's really fun. So that's going to be like a long-term thing for me. And I've also started asking or like I've listed in my Twitter bio to like pitch me your meaningful game because I want to help crowdfund meaningful games. So we're going to see who reaches out to me. And then probably the most exciting thing, over at Stardust, we are starting a meaningful games community to support the developers of meaningful games because they require such an emotional investment, and this genre is relatively unknown. We really want to create somewhere that developers can support each other, and maybe we can bring in some players and some. One of the requests we had was to, because narrative is so important, to bring in some experts in specific fields. So hopefully that will do well. That actually stems from Tabea's thesis. She's our CEO, so her thesis in her master's was about meaningful games.
Okay.
And I highly recommend giving it a read. It was a good read. I love academic things. We might make it publicly available. I need to ask her.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But it dives really well into gender and meaningful games. I wish I remembered more about it. Oh no.
It's okay. It's a good teaser.
Yeah. Go read her thesis and then come join our community if you're making meaningful games or want to support meaningful games. So I'm not allowed to say specifically what we're doing with that community because things are still in the works.
Sure.
But like my personal goal with it is to support the developers, help raise awareness about their games, help this become more of a well-known genre. Because I love this genre and more people need to love it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, what it always comes back to is that that stupid quote that Roger Ebert did ages ago where he said that games can't be art. And it's just like, he's so wrong. He's so wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the developers who are kind of in our small community for that at the moment, the things they are making are incredible. And yes, they are arts. And I say that having done an art degree. So,
suck it.
Yeah.
Suck it.
I say that as a fully qualified person.
Yeah. And I think that is the thing. I think hopefully through these kind of initiatives and stuff, it'll make it more mainstream to for more people to accept games as something that can really help people and help explore topics that they're not comfortable exploring. And yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Lots of personal growth in games. I love it so much. I love it when a game really challenges my worldview, and then I come out feeling like a better person because of it, even if it was tough.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's it for me. So, I mean, thank you so much, Lauren, for coming on the show. And we've just had a really lovely chat about meaningful games and statistics. I mean, we covered a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really good to be here with you. And I know I said before, I'm not really used to talking about myself. So this was one of those really meaningful experiences. And yeah, thank you for this.
Absolutely. That's it for this episode of She Plays Games. If you want to hear more from Lauren, please be sure to follow her on Twitter at Lauren S. Moses. And then also, if you want to learn more about Code Coven, their website is codecoven.co. And if you want to learn more about Stardust, their website is stardust.ch. All of this will be listed in the show notes at sheplaysgames.co. If you want more episodes of She Plays Games, please be sure to subscribe and follow me on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube by searching She Plays Games, and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at She Plays Podcast. If you want to be on the show or want to nominate someone to come on the show, you can email me at sheplayspodcast@gmail.com. See you all next time on She Plays Games.